Hey guys, welcome to the first Moment in Blackness. Welcome to the first Moment in Blackness. My name is Chimoge Nkeram. I'm Bumoge Onishikalikana. You can call me Chimoge or Moge. Also, any variant of Amadioha. And by that I mean, well, to be more specific, I mean any of Amadioha's names. You can call me Kalakanu, Amadioha, Kamalu, Akanso, Akua, Shango, Asaga. You can call me anything. Moge. But anyway, welcome to Chimoge's Comments America. This is the very first Moment in Blackness. The very first Moment in Blackness. Because as you know, this network has gone through some retoolings. It started off as Say No to Joe back in the, really I'll say the summer. I don't give myself enough credit. The summer of 2020. And all I say that because I talk about the beginning of this network is when I posted my first video. But really before that, I was up on Twitter, now X. And I was even up on Instagram, right? And that was just because, during that election, I thought that the black people living in America would be doing ourselves a disservice by voting for Joe Biden, specifically, and the Democratic Party in general, given how they'd never given us anything for our vote. And I thought it was bad character on our part to do that. So I advocated against our vote for that. Long story short, I did eventually put out the seminal work of that movement, Say No to Joe 2020. Long story short, unfortunately, Joe Biden did enter office. But, at the end of the day, I looked at it and my cause was much broader than Joe Biden. Because at the end of the day, Joe Biden is just one politician. This is not just about one politician. Obviously, when individual bad actors come up, we should oppose them in the political sphere, and if they're in other spheres, oppose them in other spheres. But we should not over-focus on them. And really, I was saying that we had to, as a race of black people, improve our response to white violence, because we talk about what the problem black people faces today. There's not one problem, we have many problems, but the problem we tend to look at the most, really the problem everyone is talking about when they say the problem, that's how I'll say it, is white violence. Really, we are victims of white violence. We are victims of the violence of the white race, right? And when I say that, I'm talking about the violence perpetrated by most members of the white race, and then also sellouts in the black race. Obviously, not every single member of the white race is a perpetrator of white violence, but most unfortunately are. And we are all one category of beings. The members of the white race, members of the black race have to eventually come together. But before that happens, we need to stop the white violence. And to go along with that, we need to protect the black bloodline. We need to protect the black race. We need to protect Abru Nduoji. So, that's the idea. But just coming out of the Say No to Joe era, or should I say coming out of the 2020 United States election, I was thinking of retooling it. So I eventually named it Chimoge's Comments America. And I said that the central issues eventually would be telling black people not to vote for the Democratic Party. Because again, I want to emphasize, like I always emphasize, me telling you not to vote for the Democratic Party is not me telling you to vote for the Republican Party. And to be honest, I need to be more vocal about this because so few black people vote Republican. I didn't even think I need to talk about it. And there are some black people who vote Republican who are actually not bad people, because you can do a bad thing and not be a bad person overall. So, and really some of that is what I call wanine mewo ekwensu. which is when you overdo creepy, or to translate it loosely, you overdo complicated thoughts. So they see the problem of us over voting for the Democrats, and they think a complicated thought, and they think we should vote Republican, but no. So long story short, it could be a mistake done by a good person. So the reason I really didn't emphasize as much my hatred for the Republicans as well, and if I'm being honest, my hatred for Republicans is much more visceral, because really Republicans are just, I mean, any mass perpetrator of white violence is a savage, but Republicans are really, just the most pure savages on the planet. And there's just not much you can say. They're also a shille. You see what I'm saying? So it's very basic. When you see them, you know what it is. But let me not get distracted by hatred here. But anyway, the whole point of that is I wanted to give us some leeway, because I didn't want us to waste time talking about why we shouldn't vote Republican. Because to be honest, if you don't know why you shouldn't vote for a Republican, you're just very lost in the arena of politics, generally speaking. Okay, so it's just not a worthwhile debate, especially among black people. But after really consulting with worldly spirits, and by that, and again, that is not a vague term. I know a lot of people, when they say they're talking to spirits, they're being vague. I'm not being vague. Worldly spirits is really the name for them. Primarily, I'm talking to my relatives who passed away. So, people like my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, people like my, paternal grandfather, other relatives who passed away. Both those who conceived me and those who didn't but are related. Like, say, aunts and uncles who passed away, right? And then ancestors too, but relatives who passed away are the ones who are in the bloodline material pool, what you could, most people would call your gene pool, although it's not the right term. Instead of gene, you say G. But anyway, you have ancestors who aren't in your gene pool, they're older. I talk to them too, but primarily what I deal with is the relatives who passed away, just because those are close. But other people come into, other spirits I'm connected to. And really, generally, when you're talking to them, I should say when I'm talking to them, this is the easiest method. They kind of all funnel into one. So you hear one overall message, but you can talk to individuals too when I do. But anyway, they gave me advice, and I thought about it as well. And by the way, prayer, we have a limited understanding of it, but long story short, whenever you're talking to a spirit, you're praying, and whenever you're thinking, you're praying. They're just talking to me. I hear them with my ears, okay? So your thoughts are spirits, okay? So I was thinking, I was praying, same thing. But long story short, I was thinking about it. I need to signal more to my audience that I don't like Republicans, because I haven't really seen in real life people explicitly say they think I like Republicans since I started doing this. There's one family member who I got complaints from. And as those of you who've been watching me over the last 8 months, unfortunately, know I've had a lot of family members who've done me wrong. I'm trying to resolve that situation. But they got a complaint. And another thing I've realized is that a lot of people have been gossiping about me. More on that in a future video. That'll go up on Chimoge's comments. And I'm just wondering if some of the gossip is that I'm a Republican or something, which is ridiculous. So I just want to signal, and I have learned more about the nature of the Republicans and the Republican Party and so-called conservatives in general. I can share that information, and that could be useful. But I'll go into that another time. But anyway, long story short, right? Even though I don't like Republicans, I was emphasizing not voting for Democrats because that's the bad thing we're doing. To use an analogy, this is a perfect analogy. Republicans are alcohol, Democrats are marijuana, black people we're overdoing marijuana, not as much alcohol. So I spent more time talking about why marijuana was bad than why alcohol was bad. That doesn't mean I don't know alcohol is bad. It's pretty obvious alcohol is bad. But that's not what we're overdoing. We're overdoing the marijuana. So I was saying don't do the marijuana. Okay. You get what I'm saying. So anyway, that's a loose analogy, obviously. Because there's some people who should do those things sometimes. But, most people should not do those things most of the time. I don't do either of those things. Anyway, marijuana, alcohol, that is. Anyway, more on that in future videos. But, I emphasize that black people should not vote Democrat. And really what I would say now is just don't bother voting. It's a waste. It's just a waste of time. Just don't vote. I really... Again, I'll go into that detail another time. But long story short, don't vote. We have too many problems. I realized I overcomplicated it. Just don't vote. I wanted to give people leeway, but I realized I need to make it simple for people. Just don't vote. And obviously respect the laws of the United States government if you live here. But we should, form our own leadership groups that abide within the law to meet our needs, right? So anyway, by the way, a thing like a nonprofit is a leadership group, okay? That leadership group is not code for anything nefarious, okay? I don't support violence. I have to say that because there are a lot of violent people out there. I don't support violence. But anyway, long story short, that was the first point. The second point was looking at American history. And the third point was talking about how we have to avoid the impending increase in white violence in the West, right? So those are the 3 points. But recently I've decided to streamline it more because it's a bit complicated. I think I added in a 4th point. So long story short, really the point of this channel now, and really network, because this will go up on YouTube. Actually, I should say this is a YouTube specific video. Shout out to YouTube. But people will get the information on other channels or other networks as well. This is part of OZ Bang Local Overall Media Company. It's part of the Chimoge Comments America Network. Check us out everywhere. Long story short, the point of this network, Chimoge's Comments America, is to really care for the black bloodline, everything that goes along with that. So I'll be talking a lot about that. But anyway, this is a moment in blackness. I'm black. I'm in the moment. This is a moment in blackness. Chimoge here. Also pray for me and re-up my prayers. If you want to re-up my prayers, say, Come boy, nakwa maza. May it double and can it happen again?